You're a lousy fucking softball player, Jack!
Your boys are going down, Danny. I can't stop it anymore.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and right here on the channel, I have been vigorously covering basically all things X-Men since Jonathan Hickman retook over the franchise with House of X, Powers of 10. We've obviously been covering in depth the Dawn of X series. We do This Week in X-Men every week right here on the channel, and sometimes there's so much news, have to spill over and do another news segment as well, just to cover all the X-Men news. But we love X-Men here. Now, has Dawn of X been great? Well, that's debatable. There's certainly been some great things about it. House of X and Powers of 10 is almost like it's like perfect. It's one of the best comic books I've read of the past few years. Certainly one of the best events, if not the best event, probably. It's been really amazing, or it was amazing. Obviously, we're in Dawn of X now, but one of the big things we've been talking about on the channel is that it feels like the X-Men are all wrong. Like none of them feel like they're in character, other than Wolverine, and there has been speculation right here as to why that is. Now, today we may have some answers. I'm going to cover this article. This is actually from bleedingcool.com. I have archived it. There will be a link to the archived article in the comment section, or in the video description. So I do want to say, before we get into this, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to Thinking Critical YouTube. Hit the bell for notifications. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this content. Give us a thumbs down if you don't. And be warned, there's likely to be spoilers. I'm pretty sure these are spoilers, if I'm being completely honest. Can't know until everything happens, probably with Ten of Swords. But we've had a few theories here on the channel, one of them being that Krakoa is actually evil, and now that all the mutants have come to Krakoa, or most all the mutants within the Marvel 616 are on Krakoa, that Krakoa is actually manipulating them and turning them evil, possibly. Remember, the very first appearance of Krakoa in Giant Size X-Men, it was eating the mutants. So that has been a theory. And then there's also been a theory out there that maybe Charles's helmet, the new Cerebro, maybe Charles is using that to manipulate mutants. And when they were being resurrected, he was changing their personalities a little bit, tweaking here and there to make them more subservient to his mutant cause and his new mutination. We do remember in House of X, Powers of 10, that I believe it was in the Moira's 7th lifetime when she finally revealed the future of mutants and what they were going to have to go through. It might have been 8. It was 7 or 8. That it said Xavier, Professor X, became radicalized as he saw that basically mutants had no future, that eventually humans would always overtake them using essentially false evolution via technology. And of course, technology would kind of overtake humans as well. They would kind of end up becoming a hybrid, and technology would kind of win out. And he became extremized. He became an extremist because of that. Now, we've had delays on comic books. Obviously, we had a shutdown. They've had to get through Iron Man 2020, had to get through Empire just to get into Ten of Swords. This is coming out later than it was supposed to. It appears Marvel's Contest of Champions, which is a online, not online, it's a mobile gaming app that you play on Android, that maybe they're revealing some secrets. This game has been out since, I believe, 2014, so it's been out over 6 years at this point. And there's been a lot of comparisons between Ten of Swords and Contest of Champions as there's similarities. And in the latest update for that game, Charles Xavier shows up with the Cerebro helmet, the current look that he has in the comic. And I'm pretty sure this actually gives away some this was probably supposed to coincide with the reveal in the comics about the information we get. So I'm going to go through these screen caps that are available from the game that are on Bleeding Cool. So here we have Professor X talking to Iron Man. Very well, I awoke many years ago inside Battlerealm, collected as one of several champions intended for contests. For that purpose, my body was healed and the full use of my legs restored. So there you go. Battlerealm within Contest of Champions has its own internal logic, its own story and everything. That's how Professor X kind of fits into this. And then he starts going into Krakoa. I found Krakoa adrift, aimless, and scared. I soothed it, attuning my mind to its flora and fauna. Secure on Krakoa, I crafted a new Cerebro, compacting the technology that amplifies my telepathic powers. I'm now able to wear Cerebro as the helmet you see before you. So what he's saying is the new Cerebro, which we do see in the comic book, was introduced by Jonathan Hickman, is connected and in tune with Krakoa itself, as obviously harnessing the power of Krakoa so he can utilize it and speak to the whole mutant nation, bring them to Krakoa. Very interesting, kind of feeds into one of the theories that we have. Maybe Krakoa is actually altering Charles Xavier. Maybe Krakoa, since they're in tune now, maybe Krakoa is nefarious and changing the way, or changing Charles Xavier himself, and then he's changing the X-Men using Cerebro. Perhaps. Although it doesn't appear that way. We get more information. With my powers greatly enhanced, I was able to conceal the location of Krakoa from every mind in the Battlerealm, and then my work really began. So within Battlerealm, or the Contest of Champions, he was able to conceal Krakoa from the other players. That's why he's just appearing now, but he was meant to be a battle character all along. Then we get to Apocalypse. And you start talking to Apocalypse in the game, and he says, how much did Xavier tell you about the founding of Krakoa? Did he tell you of the sordid truth, or were you served a beautiful lie, a dream? Did he elucidate on the agonizing research we requested from Sinister? So it looks like Professor X, Charles Xavier, Apocalypse, and Mr. Sinister kind of have been working all along once Krakoa was discovered by Charles, and maybe more Sinister, but plans have been afoot all along. Maybe what we've been told as readers, along with the other mutants on Krakoa, is all one big lie. He didn't just invite Apocalypse over. He didn't just invite over Mr. Sinister, which seemed really out of character. Like, why would you bring all the villains? They had been in on it since the very beginning, probably. And then he says, did he expand on the technological advancements requisitioned from Mojo? No, I expect not. Xavier, Xavier hid the truth from you as he did from me, that Krakoa is a prison as much as a paradise built on the bodies of fallen mutants. That's very interesting. So Apocalypse, yes, it appears that you are coming to Eden, a new paradise for all mutant kind, a new mutant nation, although it appears to be pretty evil somewhat, within the 616. When we see them interact with people outside of Krakoa, whether it be heroes or villains, they're not very friendly. They certainly aren't. And they definitely are intentionally going out and confronting humans all over the Marvel Universe. And maybe this is why, because they are all on a prison. They're being kind of mind warped. And they think they're free now that they're on Krakoa, but really, Charles is using Cerebro and the island to trap them there with Apocalypse and the other villains. And finally, he says, did you really think your thoughts have been your own since you visited Krakoa? How certain are you that Xavier has not made you his puppet with the aid of Cerebro? That fits right in with the theory we've been talking about on the channel since House of X Powers of 10. Is Charles Xavier wielding Cerebro in tune with Krakoa to enslave the mutant nation, to make them extreme as well, to make them radicalized as far as being anti-human, consolidating all their people into one area, mutant pride, going out there and fighting the humans that they can so they can ensure the survival of mutants, into the future. And thus erasing, a lot of almost everything the X-Men really were founded on, that Charles Xavier wanted to work with humans, even though the mutants within Uncanny X-Force, they were a lot of times, there was prejudice there. People were not very nice to them. They still went out there and helped humans. They wanted to be heroes and they wanted to help everybody. And that was one of the very interesting things about the team. And one of the things I think X-Men really, one of the reasons it garnered the attention of readers and kept it, because it was a very interesting theory or premise for the comic book. And finally, he says, "I would have burned it all to the ground if I could have. Instead, I am here, having escaped the war of lies, the warm lie of Xavier's false den or Eden." So it appears at this point in the story that Apocalypse has Xavier has lost control of Apocalypse. He's fully aware of all the plans of what part he played in it and what Xavier is using Krakoa, how he's using Cerebro to alter the mutants that are on Krakoa and, kind of pulling them on the side and making them more radicalized. Is this a spoiler? Has Marvel inadvertently actually spoiled, the big reveal in Jonathan Hickman's Dawn of X? I think they have. What do you think? I definitely want to hear your comments in the comment section. See, is this kind of confirm a lot of what we've been talking about here on the channel? It explains why Wolverine's the only character that really feels right now. It's very hard to manipulate the mind of Wolverine because his regenerative powers. That's all the way back in the annals of X-Men history. Wolverine is one of the hardest characters to control his mind because of those powers. That it would make sense that he was the one that was on Krakoa. Remember at the very beginning, I think it was in X-Men 1 or X-Men 2, where he was saying everyone feels safe here, but they shouldn't. This is the most dangerous place in the world. As he was watching, I think it was Beast. He was kind of spying on Beast or whatever. Is Wolverine the only one that really is aware of all the things that are happening, the nefarious things at the hands of Charles Xavier, who's been radicalized after seeing the future because of Moira's 9 lifetimes? I think this absolutely is a spoiler. But we shall see. It has to play out, obviously, in the pages of the comic book. It appears that Apocalypse will, at least within the Contest of Champions story arc, becomes aware of everything that's happening. He knows what the plan is. So we will see if that happens in the comic book. But I found this very interesting, and I find this legitimate. I think this is probably correct. I think that Marvel accidentally spoiled this, and it would make sense. Like I said, the comic book shut down and had to halt production. They had to wait kind of for Empire and stuff like that. Now they're trying to catch up by going through the events kind of fast. But they probably had this update ready to go for this mobile game. They're like, listen, we need new content for the Contest of Champions players. We're not just going to hold this off. We built this. We're working on the next update, and that has a release date as well. We're not waiting for you guys. We have the update. You asked us probably to put this in here, so they would kind of synergize and promote the comic book as well as the mobile gaming app. And I think we're getting spoiled here because it's just one of those things that happened with the pandemic. Obviously, we're seeing it with the comic books and movies. All these comics were supposed to come out with the movies that they were supposed to release. Well, the movies getting delayed, and the comic books are just going to end up coming out beforehand, and they're not going to kind of coincide with the movies they're intended to. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure we got some spoilers here, people. What do you guys think about this? Are you excited? Does this confirm your theories? Are you pissed? Is this not what you wanted from Dawn of X and Jonathan Hickman's X-Men? Did you think that they were the heroes all along, and this was just the new age of X-Men where that they were going to be a mutant nation and proud and fight against humans forever? Doesn't look like it. It looks like Charles Xavier is potentially the big bad right here. He's controlling all the mutants on Krakoa. He's keeping them in the prison of their own mind, using Krakoa against them. I think it's exciting. Falls right in line with a lot of the things I've said. For this to even make sense, for this to be X-Men, the real heroes have to be trapped somewhere. Krakoa has to be manipulating them, or Charles using Cerebro has to be manipulating them. And I thought it was probably with Krakoa in conjunction with Charles. Krakoa kind of using Charles to do it, but it appears that it's actually Charles using Krakoa and the mutants. So I find this very exciting. I can't wait for this to happen within comic books. I'm fully expecting this to be the big reveal of what House of X, Powers of 10, Dawn of X have all been leading us to. And I think it's going to be excellent. So I definitely want to hear what you guys think. Are these big spoilers? Do you think that there's connection here? Am I just full of it? Is Bleeding Cool got it all wrong? And, this just happens to be a somewhat similar story arc that it feels like it could be related, but it's not related. This is just Contest of Champions. It has nothing to do with the comic book. So I can't wait to hear what people say. I think that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll talk to y'all later.